March 20th, 2026, Friday afternoon. The New York Yankees post a message on social media. A short one. Clinical. Organizational. The kind of post that is written by a PR department to be as emotionally neutral as possible, because the people running the account know that what they are about to say is going to set the internet on fire. And the message says exactly this. Prior to tonight's game, the Yankees made the following roster moves. And then the list. A few names, a few positions, and buried right there, not at the top, not at the bottom, just tucked in between two pitchers who most casual fans have never heard of, the name that immediately, the instant it was read, caused Yankees fans from the Bronx to California to lose their minds completely. Optioned OF Jason Dominguez to AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Dogs by nature. That's it. That's the whole announcement. 12 words. And those 12 words, landing on a Friday afternoon 1 week before opening day, produced a reaction so loud, so immediate, so genuinely furious that it trended nationally within minutes. Because here is what those 12 words actually mean when you strip away the clinical, organizational language and look at the raw, undeniable, maddening truth underneath them. The New York Yankees just sent a player to the minor leagues who hit .325 with a .600 slugging percentage and 3 home runs and 3 stolen bases this spring. A player who, by every available measure, every advanced metric, every eye test from every scout and coach and analyst who watched him work this February and March, was one of the best hitters in the entire organization. The best, arguably. And they sent him to Scranton. Because there was no room. Because the roster math didn't add up. Because the New York Yankees, the most storied, most resource-rich, most expectation-laden franchise in the history of American sports, built a roster that has no room for one of the most exciting young outfielders in baseball. And that's only the beginning. Because the Dominguez move, as stunning and as frustrating as it is actually just the opening act of a Yankees story on March 20th, 2026 that goes much deeper, much wider, and much more consequential than one roster optioning. Because today is also the day we found out where the Yankees are playing opening night, and who is covering it, and how it's going to be watched. And that announcement, that specific, genuinely revolutionary piece of sports media news, is going to change the way you watch baseball forever. Starting next Wednesday, starting March 25th, starting opening night at Oracle Park in San Francisco, when Max Fried walks to the mound for the New York Yankees and the first pitch of the 2026 MLB season is thrown. And it won't be on ESPN, it won't be on Fox, it won't be on TBS or Apple TV Plus or Peacock or any of the platforms that baseball fans have gotten used to navigating over the last several years of the sport's increasingly complicated broadcast landscape. The first pitch of the 2026 MLB season, Yankees vs. Giants at Oracle Park, will be exclusively streamed on Netflix, the first time in history that a live MLB game will be carried by the streaming service. ESPN, Netflix, the platform where you watch crime documentaries and prestige dramas and reality dating shows. The platform that has 300 million subscribers worldwide. The platform that has been moving aggressively into live sports, boxing, NFL games on Christmas, Formula One, and that just made its most significant live sports statement yet, the New York Yankees, opening night, Netflix only. And the fans, the millions of baseball fans who assumed they'd just flip to their normal channel next Wednesday night and watch the Yankees take the field, found out today that they need to make sure their Netflix subscription is active, or they're not watching. So let's take this whole story apart. Let's go piece by piece through everything that happened today in the New York Yankees universe, because March 20th, 2026 is genuinely one of the most eventful single days this organization has had in years. And the full picture, when you put it all together, when you understand how the Dominguez situation and the Netflix announcement, and Aaron Judge's return from the World Baseball Classic, and the Garrett Cole comeback, and everything else happening in this building, connects into one coherent story, is more fascinating, more complicated, and more important for the future of this franchise than any individual headline suggests. Let's start with Jason Dominguez, because this is the one that hit the fans hardest today, the one that generated the most immediate, most visceral reaction, and the one that, when you dig into the full story behind it, reveals something deeply uncomfortable about how the Yankees are managing the relationship between the roster they have today and the team they're trying to build for tomorrow. Dominguez, nicknamed the Martian since his days as a teenage prodigy in the Dominican Republic, signed as one of the most celebrated international amateur signings in recent Yankees history, posted a .325 batting average, a .378 on-base percentage, and a .600 slugging percentage this spring. He hit 3 home runs, he stole 3 bases. His weighted runs created plus, the advanced metric that adjusts for park and league factors to tell you how much better or worse a player is than average in Grapefruit League play, was 146, meaning he hit 46% better than the average player in Grapefruit League.
146 in spring training. From a 23-year-old switch-hitting outfielder who appeared in 123 Major League games last season and showed the kind of all-around offensive talent, speed, power, plate discipline that teams spend decades trying to develop. And the Yankees sent him to Scranton. As Yardbarker's analysis described it, a classic case of a crowded kitchen. Even if you have a world-class chef waiting in the wings, you cannot put him on the line if every burner is already occupied by a seasoned veteran. Dogs by nature. The veterans in this case, the burners that are all occupied, are Aaron Judge in right, Cody Bellinger in left on his 5-year, $162.5 million contract, and Trent Grisham in center on his 1-year, $22 million qualifying offer. 3 established, expensive, contractually committed players in 3 outfield spots. And then Dominguez and Spencer Jones, who was already sent down earlier this month, and a 23-year-old who just posted a 146 WRC plus in spring training, with no place to play. The official organizational reasoning was that they want Dominguez playing every single day rather than gathering dust on the bench, getting his 4 at-bats a night in Scranton rather than 1 pinch hitting appearance a week in New York. And that logic is not completely wrong. Jason Dominguez is not at the stage of his career where sitting on a major league bench watching veterans play is going to maximize his development. He needs repetitions. He needs consistent at-bats. He needs to be playing every single day in meaningful game situations where the challenge is real and the growth is constant. Keeping him in New York to ride the pine while Grisham plays center and Bellinger plays left, that is not the ideal developmental path for this player. But here's where the fan outrage is completely legitimate. Here's where the frustration is not just emotional noise, but a real, structural, substantive critique of how this roster was built. Trent Grisham, the man whose presence in the lineup is directly responsible for Dominguez's unavailability, is currently hitting 143 in spring training. 0 home runs, more strikeouts than walks. The player who cost $22 million to bring back, whose 34-homer season last year the Yankees bet on being at least partially repeatable, who was supposed to be the legitimate big league center fielder that made keeping Dominguez in the minors a defensible decision, that player is slashing 143 in Grapefruit League play. And Dominguez, who just posted a 146 WRC plus, is on his way to Scranton. That is the number that makes Yankees fans furious. Not the Dominguez demotion in isolation, the Dominguez demotion in the context of a $22 million center fielder hitting 143. The idea that the organization committed that kind of money to a player who is demonstrably, visibly, statistically underperforming in spring training, while simultaneously sending away a player who is demonstrably, visibly, statistically doing everything that should earn someone a roster spot. The roster math is cruel, but the roster math was created by decisions made in November and December that on March 20th are starting to look considerably harder to defend than they did when they were made. And Jason Dominguez himself, to his enormous credit, to the kind of professionalism that speaks volumes about his character and his maturity, handled it with grace. He said the right things. He kept his head up. He understood the situation. He knows, because his team told him, because the logic is clear even if the outcome is painful, that going to Scranton and playing every day gives him a better path to the big leagues than sitting in the Bronx and watching. But understanding something intellectually and feeling good about it emotionally are two completely different things. And somewhere on a bus to Scranton, Pennsylvania right now, one of the most exciting young outfielders in baseball is processing the reality that a spring training slash line of .325, .378, .600 wasn't enough. That 146 WRC plus wasn't enough. That 3 home runs and 3 stolen bases and every possible indication that he is ready wasn't enough. Because the burners are all occupied. And in the Yankees kitchen, right now, today, the chefs in charge have seniority. And seniority costs money. And money in the Yankees world means commitment. And commitment means Jason Dominguez goes to Scranton even when he is the best hitter in camp. Now, let's talk about the other enormous piece of Yankees news that dropped today, because the Netflix announcement deserves its own full conversation. And I think a lot of fans are not fully appreciating what this means, not just for next Wednesday's opening night game, but for the future of how baseball reaches its audience and grows its fan base in this country and around the world. The Yankees vs. Giants opening night game on March 25th at Oracle Park in San Francisco will be exclusively streamed on Netflix. This is the first time in history that a live MLB game has been carried by the streaming service. Max Fried starts for New York. Logan Webb starts for San Francisco. ESPN.
The first time in history that Netflix has carried a live MLB game. Let that land for a second. Because Netflix, for all its dominance in entertainment, for all its global reach and its 300 million subscribers and its absolute cultural ubiquity, has been a streaming video-on-demand service, pre-recorded content, movies, series, documentaries. The idea that you would sit down on a Wednesday night and watch a live sporting event on Netflix with real-time scoring and real athletes competing in front of a real crowd with genuine stakes is something that would have seemed completely bizarre 5 years ago. And now it's happening, next week, with the New York Yankees. This is not an accident. This is not Netflix stumbling into baseball. This is a calculated, strategic, deeply considered move by a company that watched what happened with the NFL on Christmas Day last year, when Netflix's first foray into live sports coverage drew tens of millions of viewers and fundamentally changed the conversation about where live sports belong in the streaming era, and decided they wanted more. More live events, more real-time stakes, more of that irreplaceable appointment viewing energy that drives people to gather around a screen at a specific moment and watch something that matters in real time. And baseball, the Yankees specifically, made sense as the next step, because the Yankees are not just a sports team. They are a global brand, the most recognizable franchise in American sports history, the team that casual fans around the world know regardless of whether they follow baseball closely. The pinstripes, the interlocking NY, Ruth, DiMaggio, Jeter, Judge. When Netflix wanted to make a statement about being a serious player in the live sports space, when they wanted to announce that they were not just doing Christmas NFL games, but were committed to live sports as a major part of their programming identity, they picked the team whose name opens the most doors in the most countries with the broadest possible audience. And the game itself has the storylines to match the occasion. Max Fried against Logan Webb. Fried, in the second year of his 8-year, $218 million contract, entering the season coming off a career-best 19-5 record, a 2.86 ERA, and an all-star selection in 2025. Webb making his 5th consecutive opening day start for San Francisco, coming off a 15-11, 3.22 ERA season in which he led all of baseball in innings pitched with 207 and struck out a career-high 224 batters. A left-handed ace against a right-handed workhorse, two of the best starters in the sport, and the whole thing streaming on Netflix to a potential audience of 300 million subscribers worldwide. This is genuinely historic. And I think the fans who are frustrated about the Dominguez move, legitimately frustrated for all the reasons we just laid out, need to also hold space for the fact that what the Yankees are doing with the Netflix partnership represents something real and important for the future of the sport. Baseball has been grappling for years with an audience challenge. The sport's core fan base is aging. Young people, the generation that grew up on streaming, that has never known a world without on-demand content, that discovers athletes through social media and podcasts and YouTube, rather than through sitting down with their family to watch a game on a traditional network. Those fans need to be reached in the places they actually are. And where they actually are is Netflix. Where they are is streaming, and getting the Yankees and the Giants and Max Fried and Logan Webb onto Netflix on opening night is the most direct, most powerful way to put baseball in front of that audience that has ever been attempted. But there's more to this Yankees Friday than Dominguez and Netflix, because today, March 20th, Aaron Judge officially returned to the Yankees after his World Baseball Classic duties with Team USA. Reporter Brian Hawk confirmed that Judge, who rejoined the team on March 19th, will return to the lineup on March 20th as the designated hitter. Pro Football Network. And that return carries its own weight, because Judge, the 3-time AL MVP, the captain, the face of the franchise, the player whose presence makes every other lineup decision the Yankees make feel more defensible, had a difficult World Baseball Classic. We covered the championship game, the 3-2 loss to Venezuela, the 4 at-bats without a hit, the 3 strikeouts, the moment in the 8th inning when Bryce Harper's 2-run bomb tied the game and Judge came up next with 2 outs and grounded out to third. 0 for 4 in the championship game. The captain came up short in the biggest moment.
And now he's back in Tampa, back in the lineup, back in the uniform that he has worn while winning 3 MVP awards and becoming the greatest hitter of his generation in the regular season. Back with everything that happened in Miami last Monday behind him and everything that is about to happen in San Francisco next Wednesday in front of him, because that is the only thing that matters for Aaron Judge right now. Not what happened in the World Baseball Classic, not the ground ball to third in the 8th inning, not the social media commentary or the Dave Portnoy posts or the captain memes or any of it. What matters is March 25th. What matters is Oracle Park. What matters is the first pitch of the 2026 regular season, the 162 games that follow, and the October that the Yankees have been building toward since the moment they lost to the Dodgers in the 2024 World Series. And there is another return that Yankees fans have been waiting for even longer than Judge's return from the WBC. A return so significant, so laden with anxiety and anticipation and genuine uncertainty about what it is going to look like, that it has been the most discussed storyline in Yankees camp for months. Garrett Cole returned to the mound in a spring training game against the Boston Red Sox, facing live hitters for the first time since undergoing Tommy John surgery just over a year ago. Garrett Cole, the Yankees' ace, the man who signed a 9-year, $324 million contract in 2019, the largest contract ever given to a pitcher at that time, and who has been the cornerstone of the New York rotation ever since. Cole missed the entire 2025 season after undergoing Tommy John surgery, an entire season, gone. And the Yankees, who reached the World Series in 2024 with Cole pitching, had to navigate 2025 without him. They survived. They made the playoffs. They lost in the division series to Toronto, but the absence of Cole was felt every single day. And now, finally, he is back. Not in games that count, not yet, but throwing to hitters, competing, working through the mechanics and the feel and the command and the trust in his own arm that every pitcher who comes back from Tommy John has to rebuild from scratch. Cole's return to the mound against the Red Sox in spring training was one of the most anticipated moments of the entire spring for Yankee fans, who have been waiting to see their ace healthy and pitching again. And the early signs, the velocity, the movement, the competitiveness, have been encouraging enough that there is genuine optimism that Cole could be contributing meaningful innings for New York at some point during the first half of the 2026 regular season. But he starts on the injured list. Him and Carlos Rodon and Clark Schmidt, three important pieces of the Yankees' rotation, all unavailable on opening day, which means Max Fried carries the load on opening night against the Giants on Netflix. And after Fried, Luis Gil, Ryan Weathers, Cam Schlittler, and Will Warren complete a rotation that has more question marks than a Yankees rotation should have when a championship is the stated goal. And then there's Carlos LaGrange, the name that keeps coming up in the context of this rotation depth conversation. The 22-year-old right-handed pitcher who has been one of the most talked about prospects in all of spring training, not just for the Yankees, but across all of baseball. In 13 2/3 innings across 4 outings, LaGrange allowed just 2 runs on 6 hits, striking out 13 and walking just 4. ESPN's Jeff Passan wrote that it wouldn't surprise him if LaGrange is pitching meaningful innings for the Yankees by September, if not sooner. Delin Betances, the former Yankees reliever to whom the 6'7", hard-throwing righty has often been compared, said he believes LaGrange has the ability to be one of the best starters in the game if he continues to work on his craft. HEV Sports' Austin Wells, the Yankees catcher, went even further. He said he has no doubts that LaGrange could help the team right now. Aaron Judge agreed. Garrett Cole, who presumably knows what Major League-ready pitching looks like better than almost anyone, reportedly wanted LaGrange in the rotation from day one.
And yet, LaGrange starts the season in the minors too, because the rotation spots are filled, because the depth is there. Because the Yankees, as deep as they are in pitching prospects, have made a calculation that the best path for LaGrange's development mirrors the same calculation they made for Dominguez. Play every day at a high level in AAA, force the organization's hand with performance, and wait for the moment when the major league roster situation requires him. The expectation is that if all goes well, LaGrange gets the call at some point this summer. And when Cole and Rodon are ready to return from the injured list, the Yankees will have the luxury of a pitching depth that most franchises can only dream about. Heavy sports. Luxury. That word keeps coming back when you talk about the Yankees. Luxury of pitching depth, luxury of outfield depth, luxury of financial resources that allow them to sign veterans at prices other teams can't match. The Yankees live in a world of abundance. And yet, and this is the paradox at the very heart of what is happening in this organization right now, that abundance is simultaneously the source of their greatest strength and their most visible, most talked about, most genuinely frustrating problem. Because when you have too much of everything, you are forced to make choices, and every choice creates a winner and a loser. Someone gets to stay in the major leagues, and someone gets sent to Scranton. Someone pitches in the rotation, and someone waits in AAA. Someone gets the starting outfield job, and someone watches from the bench. And the choices the Yankees are making right now, with Dominguez going to Scranton and LaGrange going to AAA and Spencer Jones already in the minors, are choices that prioritize the 2026 championship window over the long-term development of the players who will define this franchise 5 and 10 years from now. That is a legitimate organizational philosophy. It is not irrational. It is a team looking at a roster that went to the World Series 2 years ago, that lost in the Division Series last year, that has Aaron Judge in his absolute prime and Max Fried in the second year of an 8-year deal, and deciding that right now, this year, is the time to win. The championship window is open. And when the championship window is open, you prioritize the present. You play the veterans. You let the prospects develop in the minors where they get consistent playing time. And you bet that when the window eventually closes, when the veterans age and the contracts expire and the roster turns over, the prospects who were developing in Scranton will be ready to step into the roles the veterans vacated. That's the bet, and it might be exactly right. If the Yankees win the World Series in 2026, if Judge stays healthy and Fried is dominant and the bullpen holds and the offense produces and everything falls into place, then sending Dominguez to Scranton in March looks like a small, temporary, completely justified sacrifice, a minor inconvenience on the way to a championship. And nobody in 5 years is going to be writing think pieces about the Jocelyn Dominguez spring training demotion if the Yankees are holding the Commissioner's Trophy in October. But if it doesn't work, if Grisham continues to hit 143 well into the regular season, if the rotation struggles without Cole and Rodon, if the Yankees fall short again, then today's moves look completely different. They look like an organization that prioritized expensive veterans over legitimate talent, that made a bet on last year's performance repeating when the analytical community had serious questions about its sustainability, that sent away one of the most exciting young players in the sport because the guys in front of him cost too much money to move. And those are the questions that will define Brian Cashman's legacy as much as any of the championships he helped build during the dynasty years. Because here is the uncomfortable truth about the New York Yankees on March 20th, 2026. They are a great team, possibly a championship team, with Aaron Judge and Max Fried and a rebuilt rotation that will eventually include Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon. With a bullpen that has David Bednar closing and Camilo Doval as a setup option. With a lineup that, when healthy and producing, is as dangerous as anyone in the American League. Opening night in San Francisco against the Giants on March 25th. Home opener against the Marlins on April 3rd. A brutal schedule that includes the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, the Orioles, the Astros, and eventually the Dodgers in a July series at Yankee Stadium. The schedule is unforgiving, the competition in the AL East is fierce, and the Yankees, with all their talent, all their money, all their championship DNA, are going to need every piece of what they've built to be at its best if 2026 is going to end the way they want it to. But the Jocelyn Dominguez move tells you something real and important about where this team is right now. It tells you that the championship window is everything, that the prospect development is secondary to the win-now mandate, that a player who posts a 146 WRC plus in spring training can still get sent to Scranton if the roster math demands it, and that the New York Yankees, for all their resources, all their depth, all their abundance, are making the same choice that championship or bust organizations always have to make, now or later. Veterans or prospects, security or upside, known quantities or unknown ceilings. They chose now. They chose veterans. They chose security. And Jocelyn Dominguez is on his way to Scranton because of it. Aaron Judge is back in the lineup today. Cole threw to hitters for the first time since surgery. Fried is ready for opening night on Netflix. The machine is warming up. And 5 days from now, on March 25th, on Netflix, at Oracle Park in San Francisco, the 2026 New York Yankees season begins, with all its promise and all its questions, and all the weight of a fan base that has been waiting for a World Series since 2009, pressing down on every pitch, every at-bat, every decision that gets made between now and October.
The Yankees stunned MLB today, with moves that nobody liked but everyone understood, with news that changes the way baseball gets watched, with the return of their captain and the comeback of their ace, and the demotion of one of their most beloved young stars. And if you are a Yankees fan, if you have been watching this team build towards something for the last 2 years, then March 20th, 2026 is the day you need to remember, because it is the day when everything that was being planned and built and organized all winter became real. When the roster got set, when the decisions got made, when the championship window officially, finally, unmistakably swung wide open. What happens next is up to the 26 men who made the opening day roster. And starting Wednesday night on Netflix, the whole world gets to watch.